Hey, welcome back to Game 2 of Sparkyz versus KT Rolster. This is going to be Leta versus Tempest, and you know, I think I'm expecting Leta to come out very fired up in this matchup. You know, his versus Protoss is certainly not his best matchup, but then on the other hand, Tempest, you know, sort of a middle-of-the-road player, kind of a Protoss versus Protoss specialist, who actually hasn't played at all this season that I saw in his record, and was only 5-10 last season, although near the end of last season he did beat Leta on Destination, I believe, and it was a pretty crazy match where Tempest went for a very crazy proxy gateway rush, and then, you know, Leta did a very good job of defending against it, but couldn't quite hold out. You know, too much damage had been done. Anyways, I think that's gonna really pump up Leta, and, you know, he's got something to prove in this matchup, I think, after that last game that they played together. Anyways, starting off, this is on match point, and that is Leta, of course, there as the red Terran in the southwest position, and Tempest in the northeast as the yellow Protoss, and okay, that's a really funny rig that he's got for his camera. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but that's kind of cool. Anyways, so, you know, match point, you know, it has been sort of a Protoss favored map, and I think it's kind of interesting that they are deciding to field Leta on this. I think they're doing it for exactly the reason that I was just talking about, just because Tempest beat Leta in such a crazy, kind of cheesy way, and Leta, like, came so close to being able to pull that out despite, you know, the early pressure that Tempest had put on. I think, you know, I think the coaches realized that Leta wants to get a little bit of revenge on Tempest. And actually, Leta going up there with a very early scout to check out for any cheese gateways to begin this match as well, and not finding any, however, because it looks like Tempest is going to play this, at least in the early stages, pretty straight up, going for a single gateway, although it does look like he is trying to block off that choke point, not block off that chalk point. Anyways, so he might be able to go for a little bit of, you know, one base early tech, so still quite a possibility for something a little funny coming from Tempest. But we're gonna see, it looks like kind of the same thing going on for Leta, actually. So he's just putting his barracks down next to his supply depot to block off that same choke point into his main base, and so likely early tech coming from both players, and maybe we'll run up in that situation where oh, who is he playing? Cal, I think, where Leta and Cal both went for early drops, and it ended up being just kind of a cheese drop festival in that matchup. But in that matchup, Leta did not come out the victor, so you know, hopefully he'll have a little bit better luck if that is the case. However, you know, early on here, no scouting information is going to be provided other than that, you know, choke point is blocked off, so I'm sure Leta will be suspecting some sort of early tech, but I don't know if Tempest has chosen exactly what it's going to be so far. His cybernetics core is done, but I don't know if he's planted down, you know, a citadel of a dune or a robotics facility. Leta trying his hardest to, you know, lure that zealot out of that little blocking point, but not quite able to do it. And actually, he jumps the gateway by building probably a supply depot. Unfortunately, the Dragoon came out just in time to you know, do a little bit of damage and actually take out that SCV scout. So Leta trying to get a little bit of early information and sacrificing, you know, 25 minerals on that canceled supply depot to do it. Unfortunately, not getting any information other than that, you know, I guess a cybernetics core exists. I don't know if it was even spinning at that time. So it is going to be a robotics facility, however. So likely to be very early Reavers coming out for Tempest, and we're going to see, you know, what Leta can do to stop these early Reavers. And so far he's built actually, you know, more Marines than I would have expected. But we'll see if he's going to go for, you know, Academy first to get a scanner in case there's DTs coming, or if he's going to go what I think is maybe a little bit better of a route for defense, to just build an engineering bay and you know, put a couple of turrets around his base to defend not only against DTs, but also possibly against any drops, which is going to be the scenario. Leta finally getting his first tank out, and he's going to do his standard sort of fake double push, even though, you know, obviously there's no double. Well, I guess it's not 100% obvious, but I think Tempest is well aware that that is a FD push. Yeah, and he's going to be able to push Tempest all the way back into his base, but, you know, Tempest should be able to hold this. He's got 3 Dragoons out now. He should be sitting comfortably. He's also got a blob out in the middle of the field. I don't know what that is. Maybe just a scouting probe or a zealot or something wandering around. Leta once again sending in a vulture to try to harass this newly building expansion going down for Tempest. However, it is killed off before it does anything of use other than plant down a couple of mines. So, on the chance that DTs were coming, Leta does have mines out in the field, but still not too much that he can do to defend against this incoming shuttle. The shuttle should be done, the Reaver should be well on its way. Actually, he went for Observatory first, so playing it pretty standard. I guess just my my assumption that it was going to be another sort of cheesy build kind of led me to believe that it was going to be fast Reavers, but he is going Observers first, so much more standard standard play. It looks like he did eat one of those mines in the field, which is kind of silly because he does have an observer following that group, and he just needs to be a little bit more patient and walk forward instead of just you know, right-clicking all the way forward into Leta's base to get his you know, Dragoons eaten up by mines. Anyways, finally, it looks like, you know, Tempest is probably going to be setting up for a little bit of attack here on the natural expansion of Leta. He is, he's got, I don't know, probably 5 Dragoons, I guess just 4 Dragoons and a Zealot right now, and he is going to be pushing in. He's got, you know, observers in the field, and that one Zealot, ooh, that one Zealot is able to drag a mine in and get 3 kills on Leta's Marines. Not too big of a loss now, especially now that 2 tanks are on the field, 3 coming, and siege mode is here. So this siege mode, at the very least, should be able to hold off this pressure. But here comes the very early tech, a Citadel of Adun and a Stargate, and that means we're going to see some pretty early Reavers coming from, I mean not Reavers, but Arbiters coming from just 2 bases from Tempest. So I was wrong about the Reavers. He's actually opting not to go for any Reavers at all so far. Maybe he can change that up in the near future. It could, well, yeah, it's definitely going to be Arbiters. I was thinking that it was going to be, you know, Storm Drops, which are still a possibility, but, you know, obviously he doesn't need the Stargate for that. So, you know, early Arbiter's going to be coming out. And I don't know if, well, we'll see. You know, Leta's definitely not in a terrible position right now. He's got his 2 gateways, he's got his natural expansion up and running, so, you know, even economically, and Terran should be able to defend against a, you know, the same amount of bases against a Protoss. So it's really going to come down to whether or not he decides to tech up and put down a science facility sooner rather than later to counteract these early Arbiters that are be coming out for Tempest. So far, though, both players are just going to be, you know, macroing up a little bit and waiting until, you know, they've got a nice little army to have a more serious battle. These little battles with a couple of Dragoons and a couple of tanks is just not worth it to them anymore. They want to have a serious battle where they free up, you know, 20 or 30 supply instead of just 10. Anyways, yeah, actually Leta going and posturing to take a 3rd expansion pretty quickly just at his mineral-only position over in the 9 o'clock, which could help cement his early lead, although he will need a good bit of gas coming up in the future, but still, having a 3rd base is going to be good for him. and Leta actually sending his troops out for an attack and taking a sort of indirect route all the way through the north, and this might be able to catch Tempest a little bit by surprise. But before this attack happens, I am going to take a break and split this video, and we'll see how the attack goes in part 2.